Good afternoon, everyone. Today I will going to report and to discuss the Age of Reason. The Age of Reason was the name given to an important period in the history of Western civilization that followed the Renaissance era. It was occurred from the mid 1600s up to the end of 1700s. The Age of Reason is also known as the Age of Enlightenment, which means a time of illumination. The era was given this name because it was the time that an influential group of scholars, writers, artists, and scientists actively wanted to use a clear light of reason. And then, as a result of their efforts, a huge improvement in the understanding, specifically in mathematics and science, as well as the basic human rights. Also, democracy were developed and had served as a major inspiration to revolutionaries in both America and France. So here are some of the proponents in this era. So we have Francis Bacon and Rene Descartes. Nearing the end of Renaissance during the first half of the 17th century, there were two men named Francis Bacon and Rene Descartes. Each of them published important books that came to inspire generations of scientists, of scholars. In fact, many historians considered these two men to be the father of enlightenment. So let's get to know more about them. First is Francis Bacon, born at England in 1561, and it was during his days as a student at Cambridge University's Trinity College that many of his important new ideas began to take shape, which he believed that science could free ordinary people from ignorance and allow them to lead more productive and comfortable lives. While Rene Descartes, who is a French mathematician, published a book that proclaimed that reason and mathematics were all that one really needed to discover the truth in the sciences. He associated the universe to a perfect clock that had been designed and built by a master clockmaker, that is, by an all-powerful God, a God who had set the universe into motion and then left it alone. So basically, Rene Descartes doesn't believe in a biblical God, but instead a God who is all powerful by in nature. So next, a great philosopher, Isaac Newton. So the great English Enlightenment era mathematician and physicist Isaac Newton, which who owes much to the ideas of Descartes and Bacon, but he stands out among the others of his time because of his sheer brilliant work. And he discovered calculus and Newton's law. So calculus part of mathematics, and Newton's law is part of the branch of science, which consists first law, second law, and third law. And also, Isaac Newton discovered the law of gravity by just observing at his own backyard an apple falling from it from the tree, and then he came up the idea of the law of gravity and with the use of the formulations. Next is in 1686, he published a book which many considered to be the greatest scientific book ever written, entitled Philosophiae Naturalis Principia Mathematica, or the Mathematical Principles of Natural Philosophy. So this is what the book looks like. Okay, next we have Anton van Leeuwenhoek. So, a Dutch biologist, Anton van Leeuwenhoek, who made a detailed observation about a miniature world of living things. So, miniature, it means small, which he used mathematics to calculate the sizes of the populations of the organisms that he studied. So, to know the sizes or to calculate the size of that certain organism used this first ever microscope according to a research. Next is Robert Hooke. So Robert Hooke observed a box-like compartment in slices of plant tissue like this, and then called them now as cells, which most no, which all of the experts or scientists using this term cells. Okay, next philosopher, another William Harvey. So during the Age of Reason, another Englishman, William Harvey, became the first person to describe the circulation of blood and to make careful observation on the development of animals before they are born, while they're still in the embryos. Okay, another philosopher is Carolus Linnaeus. Okay, Linnaeus, in the mid 1700s, he came up with a logical method for classifying, scientifically grouping, and naming the Earth's vast and bewildering variety of living things, thus founding the modern science of taxonomy or biological classification. So, biological classification is part of the branch of science, specifically the biology. So, we all know that biology is where the animals are being classified and being grouped according to their own skills, strengths, and weaknesses. Like, for example, the kingdom of mammalia, reptiles, algae, bacteria, and other kinds of animals. So last but not the least, John Locke. So an Englishman who lived from 1632 to 1704 believes that the power of government to rule must come from the consent of the governed. In other words, the people should be able to choose who governs them. So here in the Philippines, if you are in the legal age, you can vote whoever you wanted to be the government official in the specific role as a president or as a mayor and so on and so forth. So before that, you're going to register yourself in your respective areas. Also, he promoted freedom of press, educational reform, and religious tolerance, which he believed it is a basic human rights. Okay, take note that philosophers is a person who seeks wisdom or knowledge during the Enlightenment, while natural philosophers sought to understand natural things such as the motion of the planets or the behavior of microscopic organisms. Then other philosophers concentrated on the mind, political subjects, and other more abstract concepts. So philosophers has a different reasoning, different kind of intelligence or expertise. And then the Enlightenment philosophers were usually deists who are people without traditional religious belief, beliefs, which they preferred to believe in what they called nature's God, that is, in an all powerful spiritual force that had created the universe and everything in it, but left it alone. So that's it. Thank you for listening.